Kali Linux is the industry's leading Linux distribution in penetration testing and ethical hacking. It offers tons and tons of hacking and penetration tools and different kind of softwares by default. It is widely recognized in all parts of the world, even among Windows users who may not even know what Linux is. Well, to be precise, Kali Linux was developed by Offensive Security as the rewrite of Backtrack. Backtrack, just like Kali Linux, was a Linux distribution that focused on security. It was used for digital forensics and penetration testing purpose. But the question here is, why should you choose Kali Linux when you have other choices like Parrot Security Operating System, Backbox, Black Arc, and many more out there? Let me list out few reasons as to why Kali Linux is the best choice. First and foremost, it offers more than 600 penetration testing tools from different kind of security fields and forensics. Secondly, Kali Linux is customizable. So if you're not comfortable with current Kali Linux tools or features or graphical user interface, you can customize Kali Linux the way you want. It is built on a secure platform. The Kali Linux team is actually made up of a small group of individuals. Those are the only ones who can commit packages and interact with repositories, all of which is done using multiple secure protocols. So Kali Linux is definitely a secure platform. Although penetration tools tend to be written in English, Kali includes multilingual support. This way, more users can operate in their native language and locate the tools that they need for the job that they are doing on Kali Linux. And lastly, Kali Linux, just like Backtrack, is completely free of charge. On top of all these benefits, Kali Linux offers different installation options. One way of installing Kali Linux is by making a Kali bootable USB drive. This is the fastest way of installing Kali Linux and the most favorable as well. We will discuss why in a while. You can also install Kali Linux using hard disk. Installing Kali Linux on your computer using a hard disk is a very easy process. But you should make sure that your computer has compatible hardware. You can also install Kali Linux alongside your operating system. It could be Windows or Mac. But you should exercise caution during setup process because it might mess up with your default BIOS settings. Lastly, you can use different kind of virtualization software such as VMware or VirtualBox to install Kali Linux on your preferred operating system. Well, apart from all this, you can also set up Kali Linux on advanced RISC machines or ARM like Raspberry Pi, Trim Slice, Cube Truck, and many more. So there you go, guys. Now you know what Kali Linux is and why it is a leading Linux distro for ethical hacking and penetration testing. In today's session, we will explore different ways to install Kali Linux. Let's get started then. Earlier, I said that the fastest method for setting up Kali Linux is to run it live from a USB drive. But why? First of all, it's non-destructive. It makes no changes to the host system's hard drive or the operating system that it is installed on. So once you remove USB, your operating system will return to its original state. Secondly, it's portable. You can carry Kali Linux in your pocket and can run it whenever you want, just in few minutes. It's customizable. You can create your own Kali Linux ISO image and put it into USB drive using a simple procedure, which we will discuss later. And lastly, it's potentially persistent. You can configure your Kali Linux live USB drive to have persistent storage so that the data you can collect is saved and you can use it across different reboots. Now let's see how to create a bootable Kali USB drive on Windows. Guys, actually the process is very simple. It's just a 3-step process. First of all, you need to plug your USB drive into an available USB port on your Windows PC. Next, you need to note down the destination drive it uses once it mounts. For example, it could be F drive. After that, you will have to download and launch a software called Win32 Disk Imager. On this software, you'll have to choose Kali Linux ISO file that needs to be imaged and verify that the USB drive to be overwritten is the correct one. Lastly, once the imaging is complete, you need to safely eject the USB drive from Windows machine. So like I said, it's very simple, right? Well, I'm not going to show you demo on this one because like I said, it's very easy and I'm sure you guys can pull it off. If you have any doubts, you can post them in the comment section. We'll get back to you. And as for the demo part, we'll be doing 4 installations here. First of all, we'll see how to install Kali Linux using VMware on Windows operating system. Then we'll see how to install Kali Linux on Mac using VirtualBox. Moving on, we'll see how to install Kali Linux tools on different Linux distributions. I'll be showing how to install it on Ubuntu Well, the procedure is same for every other Linux distribution, so you can go ahead and use the same procedure for the Linux distribution that you're using. And lastly, we'll see how to install Kali Linux on Windows 10 using Windows Subsystem for Linux. So I hope it's clear that what we'll be learning in the session. Let's get started with the first demo. In this demo, we'll see how to launch Kali Linux using VMware. So guys, you can install Kali Linux using any virtualization software. It could be VMware or VirtualBox. In this demo, I'll show you how to install it using VMware. So first of all, obviously we'll have to install VMware, right? So just type of VMware and it's the first link that you find. You can go ahead and download VMware Workstation Pro. You have it in the downloads. Here you can download Workstation Player as well, or you can download VMware Workstation Pro. Now, once that is downloaded, you'll have to download a Kali Linux ISO image. For that, you'll have to go for official Kali Linux website. Just type for Kali Linux and it's the first link. You can see downloads option here. Click on download. And yeah, you can see different download options here. You have Kali Linux Lite for 64-bit as well as 32-bit. And then there is Kali Linux 64-bit and 32. And you have separate images for VMware and VirtualBox as well. Suppose you want to skip the entire lengthy procedure of installing it and you want to just use the image, then you can go ahead and use this Kali Linux 64-bit for VMware or VirtualBox. Same goes for the 32-bit as well. But since we are focusing on installing right now, let's just go ahead and download our ISO file and install it from the beginning until last step. I've already downloaded it, so I have an ISO file downloaded on my computer. So all you have to do is just click on the torrent link, it'll be downloaded. Let's open VMware then. So as you can see, I have VMware Workstation Pro installed here. So I already have about two virtual machines installed on my VMware Workstation. As you can see on the home page, three different options. It says create a new virtual machine or open a virtual machine and connect to remote server. So if you want to create a Kali Linux or any other virtual machine from step 1, you can use this create a new virtual machine option. Well, if you have an image of a virtual machine already, and if you want to just use it and avoid installation procedure, then you can go ahead and use this open a virtual machine option. Well, just click on this create a new virtual machine and click on next. As you can see here, you have an option which says installer disk image file ISO file you'll have to attach here. So click on browse. Let's see where I've stored my Kali Linux. As you can see, I already have it here. And there's one file here. Let me click on that and open. So yeah, don't bother about this error. It usually shows that. And then click on next here. So it's asking which operating system will be installed on this virtual machine. I want it to be Linux. So make sure you select Linux 64-bit and click on next. You have an option to name your virtual machine. Let's say Kali Linux. And where do I want to store it? In my documents under virtual machines, Kali Linux. Sure. And click on next. It says it already exists. Let me try this one then. Let's say Kali Linux 1 and next. Yeah. So basically your Kali Linux will need about a 20 GB. Let's assign some 40 GB here. That's the maximum disk size that you can allot. Well, you can allot more than that as well, but minimum it needs about 20 GB. And you have an option which says store virtual disk as a single file or multiple files. Let's just select store virtual disk as a single file to avoid complications and click on next here. So as you can see, you can review your virtual machine settings here. You have an option to make changes to the settings. You can make changes right now or you can do it later as well. Let's just go ahead and make changes now. Click on this customize hardware option here. Well, as for the memory for this virtual machine, it totally depends on what you're using virtual machine for. If you're not using it for heavy works, then you can assign least amount of memory. Let's say I want to assign about 2 GB. There we go. And as for the processors, number of processors 1 and the number of core processors, you can choose as many as you want. Let's say 2. This will increase the performance of your virtual machine. So, and again, it totally depends on whatever you want to choose. And yeah, we have already attached the image. Network adapter, you can set for NAT. USB controller and sound card, you can retain the default settings. And as for the display, click on accelerated 3D graphics since Kali Linux has a graphical user interface. And it says 768 MB is the recommended amount of memory that you can use for graphics. So let's go ahead and select that and click on close. Well, you can actually make all the settings after installing Kali Linux as well. No problem there. Once you've done that, click on finish here. As you can see, my Kali Linux image is ready for installation. You have two options to power up. As you can see, you have this option here. You can click on that to power on this virtual machine, or you can go ahead and click on this. Let me click on this. So once you click on that, you should be greeted with this Kali boot screen. As you can see, there are a lot of options here. We did discuss live option earlier, right? So if you don't want any trace of Kali Linux on your operating system, you can go ahead and use live option here. You have live USB persistence mode and live USB encrypted persistence as well. Suppose you want to store some data and save it for a later reboots, you can use live persistent option here. And most of the time people get confused with this install and graphical install. Just don't go ahead and click on install option. Do it only if you're well versed with command line interface. So basically that install option is for command line interface. So you'll be greeted with Kali Linux command line interface. Since if you're using Kali Linux for the first time, go ahead with graphical install. Select the graphical install and click enter. So as you can see, it'll start mounting storage devices. Whole installation process might take about 10 minutes. So it's prompting you to select a language. So select your preferred language, then your country location. Let's say English and click on enter. And it's asking you for the country location. Just give United States and enter. And I want the keyboard to be configured with American English. You can choose any native language. Like I said earlier, it supports multilingual or it supports multiple languages. So go ahead and choose it. But it might complicate the way you use Kali Linux later. So you can always go ahead and stick ahead with English only. Well, it doesn't matter. So as you can see, it's configuring the network. So it'll detect the ISO file and load installation component and then prompt you to enter a host name for your system. Well, in this installation, let's just enter Kali and click on enter. You can give the name you want. And next it's asking you for the domain name. Suppose you have a set of virtual machines and if you want to give all of them a domain name, you can assign a domain name as well, but it's optional. Let's not give any domain name here and click on enter. The next thing it does is it'll prompt you for the password that you'll have to enter every time you launch your Kali Linux. So just give some password of your choice and click on continue. The best thing about Kali Linux is you can set up date and time as well. You can make it later as well, but you can choose it here. So just click on Eastern or whichever choice you like and click on enter. So the installer will now probe your disk and offers you 4 different choices. As you can see, it says guided use entire disk. Guided use entire disk can set up LVM, which is logical volume manager. Same thing, which is encrypted and manual. So if you're an expert, if you've already used this Kali Linux before, you can go ahead and select any of these 3 options from the bottom. That's LVM or manual or encrypted LVM. Otherwise, you can always go ahead and choose guided use entire disk option here if you're a beginner and click on enter. So this is the disk partition where all the data will be stored and click on continue. It's asking if you want to store all files in one partition or if you want to make partitions. So depending on your needs, you can go ahead and choose to keep all your files in single partition, which is default, or you have separate partition for one or more of the top level directories. Let's just choose the first option and click on enter. So once you've done that, you'll have one last chance to review your disk configuration. Once you're sure that you've given correct details, click on enter here. It's asking if the changes that you make to Kali Linux should be written to the disk or not. So say yes. So it will start partition and install the virtual machine. It took a while, but as you can see, installation is almost done. It's asking me to configure the package manager. Well, if you select no in this session, you'll not be able to install packages from Kali repositories later. And click on continue. So suppose if you want to install other repositories or updates later on, you can always go and click on yes. Otherwise you can go for no as well. Now it's going to configure the package manager. It'll install package manager and configure it. Then it'll install grub bootloader. And it's asking if you want to install grub bootloader to master boot record. Definitely yes. So select yes and click on continue. So it's asking to select the device manually. You can click this, select the device. So yeah guys, we're done here. So you can finally click on continue option to reboot your new Kali installation. So as you can see, the entire process took about 10 to 11 minutes. So yeah, let's go ahead and click on continue here. It's going to finish the installation. So guys, as you can see, the installation process from the step where we selected the language till the last step is same. It's just the medium on which you're installing is different. For example, right now we used VMware. Later on, I'll show you how to use VirtualBox. But once your Kali Linux image is ready to boot, the rest of the installation process is similar to this. So it's finished installing. It's loading the image. So if you have done everything right during the installation process and according to your needs, you'll land up in this page. Username. So we've given it this Kali, right? Kali, and password. As you can see, it's showing an error. It says that didn't work, please try again. This is mostly because first time when you log in, you should use word root as your default username. But later on, once you've already logged in, you can change the username according to your need. So root and password, you can use the same password which you set during installation process. So as you can see, login is successful. And here I go. My Kali Linux is up and running. So I can start using Kali Linux according to my needs. So once you've done that, you can go ahead and install VMware tools so that you can maximize it, full screen and all that stuff. You can also go ahead and change the date and time settings. As you can see here, you can go for the settings option here and do the settings. And you can start using Kali Linux for hacking and penetration testing purposes. So it's as easy as that, guys. So please go ahead and try installing it. Well, if you find any errors during installation process, let us know in the comment section. We'll get back to you as soon as possible. Now let's move on to our second demo. Now we'll see how to launch Kali Linux on Mac operating system using VirtualBox. In the previous demo, we used VMware, and now we'll be using VirtualBox. But actually, I'm not using any Mac system here, operating system. But I'll show you how to install using VirtualBox. The procedure is very similar. So all you have to do is on your Mac operating system, go ahead and click for VirtualBox download. So this is the VirtualBox official page. You can go ahead and click on downloads here. As you can see, you have different options here. It says Windows for Windows operating system, OS X host, Linux, and Solar host. Since if you're using Windows, then go ahead and select Windows host. But as for Mac, you'll have to select this. It's mostly a .exe file. Once you've done that, you can install VirtualBox. It's just click on next, and it'll work out and provide settings according to your need. I already have installed VirtualBox. The next thing you do is similar as what you've done with VMware. Go ahead and download official Kali Linux image. Make sure you don't download any duplicate versions of ISO file from other websites. Make sure you download it from original website. If you want to do it from the beginning, go ahead and install ISO file here, torrent, or you can just go ahead and download just the image for VirtualBox here for 64-bit, and you have option for 32-bit as well. I've already done that. So let me open my VirtualBox. Yeah, here it is. The procedure for VMware and VirtualBox is almost same, just slight difference. Let me maximize the screen for you guys. As you can see, I already have a virtual machine launched up here. I haven't powered it up yet. Anyway, I'll show you how to install new one. Just click on new option here. This is your VirtualBox homepage, guys. So click on new here and just give a name. We've already given Kali Linux earlier, right, for the virtual machine. So let's give it some other name. Let's say capital KL Linux. And choose the type of operating system, that's Linux. And here 64-bit, minus 64-bit. According to your operating system needs, you can go ahead and choose 32-bit as well. Click on next. And again, like I said earlier, depending on what you're doing on Kali Linux operating system or virtual machine, you go ahead and assign the memory. Since I'm just showing you how to install, I'm not assigning much memory here. So let's just retain the default 1024 MB, that's 1 GB, and click on next. And it's asking, you have 3 options here. You have not to add virtual hard disk, create a virtual hard disk now, and you can go ahead and add a virtual hard disk here, use an external virtual hard disk. Go ahead and select the second option, click on create, and use VirtualBox image. Like I said earlier, we downloaded ISO image, right? And it's an ISO file with extension .iso. So basically it's nothing but image. So click on next, and I want the storage on physical hard disk to be assigned dynamically, and click on next. So this is the name of the virtual machine which we just gave earlier. It's asking you to choose the path wherever you want to store your virtual machine. Let's say documents and virtual machines. Click on open and save. So that's the path I've set up. And as for the memory, Kali always needs you to assign at least 20 GB. So let's go ahead and give 20 GB. You can always assign more than that. And click on create. So this is the one we just created, right? It's ready. Just click on settings. Before you power up, you'll have to make certain settings. So if you want to change name or type and version, you can always go ahead and do that here. We don't have anything in advance. It's just the folder where your virtual machine will be stored. Go for systems. We won't be using any floppy disk here. So untick it or uncheck it. And yeah, this is memory if you want to go ahead and change or assign more memory because the performance of your virtual machine is not that great. You can go ahead and do that. For the processor, make sure you enable this extended features. So basically, if you want to increase the performance of your virtual machine, the number of processors you assign should increase. Well, for now, since I'm just showing you how to install, I'm just going to assign one. You have option to increase to say two, like that. And as for the display, you can enable 3D acceleration display. Storage settings, this is the most important one. Right now, we don't have any image attached here. So click on this empty and click on the CD image that you see here and choose virtual disk and attach the image or the ISO file, torrent file which you just downloaded. Click on open. And audio, no settings, default network. By default, you can always set it for NAT since we're using only one virtual machine here. But if you want to use a Kali Linux with any other virtual machine like Metasploitable 2, you can go ahead and use this host only adapter option here. Because when you use NAT and when you have two virtual machines, both of them will be assigned with same IP address, which will definitely a problem because both of these virtual machines need to interact, right? So yeah, well, I'm just saying all this for the information. So you can go ahead and click on host only adapter if you're using two virtual machines and you want them to interact. As for now, I'm just retaining it NAT. And rest you don't have to make any changes. And click on OK. Once you've made all the settings, click on this. Or you can go ahead and click on start option here. You can right click on it and start. Again, like I said, the installation process from step 1 is very similar to that we did using VMware. So again, you'll be greeted with Kali boot screen and you have multiple options. Again, I'm not repeating the entire thing here. So go ahead and click on graphical install. And if you're a pro in using command line, you can always go for install option. And if you want to just use it for one time purpose, you can always go for live option here. That's all, guys. I'm sure you can catch up from here, right? Because it's almost similar for the ones we did using VMware. If you have any doubt, just go back and take a look at it. Yeah, well, like I said, I showed you on how to use VirtualBox to install Kali Linux on Windows operating system. Well, it's same for the Mac as well. You just have to download your stuff there instead of Windows. You have another option with this operating system. You can dual boot your Kali Linux with Windows or Mac. It's not as easy as these installation process because it will involve you setting the BIOS changes that you get to see when you power up your computer initially. So make sure you refer to Kali Linux official documentation and make sure you've done the installation properly so that you won't mess up your default settings. So guys, we are done with two ways of installing Kali Linux, one on Windows and one on Mac. We saw how to install it using VMware as well as VirtualBox. In the third part, we'll see how to install Kali tools on any Linux distribution. It could be Ubuntu, Fedora, Peppermint operating system, or any other version or distribution of Linux. The procedure is actually similar in every Linux distribution. So if you follow up on one Linux distribution, you can go ahead and do it on the Linux distribution of your choice or the one that you're using. One thing you should remember is that Kali Linux is not for the daily Linux purposes. Well, it's only for ethical hacking or web application penetration testing for these purposes. So guys, we'll be using a tool called Katulin. Let me spell it for you guys. It's Katwoolin. So let's just search for that. There we go. It's a script that helps you to install Kali Linux tools on your Linux distribution of your choice. So it's usually the GitHub script. So click on the first link that you find. So for those of you who like to use penetration testing tools provided by Kali Linux development team, you can effectively do that on your preferred Linux distribution using this tool, which is Katulin or Katwoolin. So as you can see, once you've installed Katulin properly on your operating system, you should be greeted with this page. I'll show you how to do that. Don't worry about it. So the purpose of asking you to see this page is to take a look at prerequisites. So first thing, you need to have a Python of version 2.7 or above installed in your operating system. And you need a Linux distribution system. It could be Ubuntu or it could be Fedora or Peppermint, any other Linux distribution. I have Ubuntu here. I'll be using VMware Workstation Pro. It's already open, but let me just go back. All you have to do is search for Ubuntu and click on the first link. So as you can see, there are a lot of options to install Ubuntu. Just click on this and you'll be able to download a file, ISO image. I've already done that. I'm not doing it again. Let's go back to VMware Workstation. As you can see, I already have my Ubuntu operating system installed. Installing Ubuntu is very straightforward. So just take a look at the instructions that you need to know when you're installing Ubuntu. Once you've done the installation, It should look something like this. So let me power up my Ubuntu operating system. So as you can see, once you install, you'll land up on this page and it's asking for the password. You set up this username and password during the installation process, so don't worry about it. Click on enter. So let's say you are a Unix lover, you like using Unix platform, but right now you want to use certain tools for performing application penetration testing and ethical hacking. You just don't need all the tools, you need few tools. In that case, instead of installing Kali Linux on your operating system, installing only certain Kali Linux tools will be the best option, right? For that, like I said earlier, we'll be using Katulin. I have a set of 4 or 5 commands that you need to use to install Katulin. First of all, you need to have Git on your operating system. Let me check if I have it or not. Anyway, I have these 5 or 4 set of commands which we'll be using. I'm going to attach them in the description below. So if you want, you can use them. As you can see, install Git, first command. It says unable to use it because I have to log in as a root user. So let me just, it's asking for the password. Yeah. Now I'm a root user. So let me try the command again. That's apt-get install Git. Yeah, installing Git. It's just gonna take few minutes. While this is happening, let's go ahead and explore Katulin tool. Let me go for Firefox here. Let's search for Katulin. So it's the first link, guys, like I said earlier. So let me scroll down. As we saw, this should be the home page, and we did take a look at the requirements. So let's just go back and see if it's done. It's still happening. So one thing, guys, make sure you have a Python of version 2.7 or above. Otherwise, the entire thing won't work at all. Yeah, guys, it's done. Now we are done with the first step. We need to install or we need to clone the Katulin, right? So what you do, like I said, I have a command right here. Just copy this and place it over there. Control C. Let's go back to terminal and let me clear the screen for you guys. Yeah. And paste. So basically I'm cloning it here. And the next command is I'm copying the Python file to this directory and click on enter. It's done. It's just quick process. Now we'll have to change permissions so that we have access to use Kotlin. For that, basically we are giving execute permission. So chmod plus X. Make sure you take a look at that. Plus X and enter. We are ready, guys. Now our Kotlin is installed. Say lin. So as you can see, it's all ready. But the first thing that you should do is before you upgrade your system, it says please remove all the Kotlin repositories to avoid any kind of problems. So as you can see, it shows you like 5 options here. First one, it says add Kali repositories and update. Next, view categories. Like I said, Kali Linux has 600 plus tools, right? So you have different tools categorized under different headings. Then you have classic menu indicator. It's nothing here. As you can see, I have a small icon here. If you click on that, it'll just show you different menus. That's all. And if you want to install Kali menu for easy access, you can do that as well. So let me just click one. Under one, it says add Kali Linux repositories, update, remove, and view all contents. So let's try removing them. Let's try with adding repositories. It says there are certain duplicate signatures removed and all that. So let's just try to remove like they suggested earlier. They've been deleted. Now one. So if you guys want to go ahead and update the repositories, already existing ones, you can go ahead and do that. I'm not doing it now because it's going to take a while. So if you want to go back, just click back. It's as easy as that. Now let's say I want to view categories and install one tool of it. As you can see, there are like huge number of categories here. So I have web application penetration tools here. I have password attacks. I have exploitation tools. Well, if you are interested, there's an introduction video of what is Kali Linux by Dureka in the cybersecurity playlist. So go ahead and take a look at that. We have explained like about 5 to 6 popular tools in Kali Linux. Anyway, getting back to today's session, let me just say 4. As you can see, it lists all the web application tools. So if I want to install all tools, there's an option that's 0. But let's just say I want to install a tool called SQL Map. I'm sure you might have heard SQL Map. If not, it's okay. It's a tool which you use for checking out vulnerabilities that are present in application database system. So anyway, it asks insert the number of the tool that you want to install. Let's say 27. So as you can see, it's installing. So it's as easy as that, guys. So once you're done installing, I'll get back to you. any tool. I just showed you how to install SQL map, which is there in web application tools. You can go ahead and do that for other different types of tools as well. Suppose you want to install all the tools, you can go for zero, as in click on zero option. So there you go, guys. I just showed you how to install one tool, so you can go ahead and do that for any kind of tool under any category. So if you just want to go back, click back and go for other types of tools. Let's say 8. There you can see. So whatever different type of exploitation tools you want, you can go ahead and install them. Let me just click back and the back. Sometimes when you try to install all the tools, you might get an error saying that the file doesn't exist or repository doesn't exist. All you have to do is go for first option here. As you can see here, you have option 2, which is update. So update your repositories. Make sure the Kali Linux mirror, which is present for the updation, is the right one. Once you've done that, you won't get any errors. All the tools will be installed properly. So suppose you want to get back from these Cartoolen easy, just press Ctrl C. And yeah, as you can see, it says goodbye. So that's as easy as it is to use Kali Linux tools on any kind of Linux distribution. While I've showed you on Ubuntu, the procedure is same on any other Linux distribution, guys. So there we go, guys. We're done with 3 things. First, we did on Windows using VMware, then on Mac using VirtualBox. And third, I showed you how to install Kali Linux tools on any kind of Linux distribution. And finally, there's one last demo. Here we'll see how to install Kali Linux on Windows operating system using Windows Subsystem for Linux feature. So let me get back to my operating system. We won't be needing VMware Workstation anymore. So guys, we'll be using a feature called Windows Subsystem for Linux, which is by default present in all the current versions of Windows 10. This is actually for those who prefer using Kali Linux command line interface. So make sure to listen to me properly. We use this option only if you are a pro in using command line interface or if you have any experience using command line interface. Otherwise, just go ahead and use VMware or VirtualBox and install Kali Linux graphical user interface option. So yeah, this Windows Subsystem for Linux allows you to run Linux distributions as subsystem on your Windows operating system. This feature is really a new feature. It exists only in Windows 10. So you need to use latest version of Windows 10 to perform this demo or use this option. And in addition to that, we also have other prerequisites, especially we need to have Git installed, or you can go ahead and zip the file, which is Windows Subsystem for Linux files normally, but having Git is also a nice thing. Secondly, you need to have Python of version 3 or above. Make sure you've installed Python and set up the path. To check if your Python is installed properly or not, just say cmd, go for your command prompt, and just type for Python version. It should show you version properly, only then you can be sure that your Python is properly installed. As you can see, for me it's showing 3.6.7, which is definitely above 3, and it's properly installed and the path is set. The first thing you need to do is enable WSL or Windows Subsystem for Linux. Just go for the control panel and there click on programs and turn Windows features on or off. Make sure not to touch any other features. It might mess up your operating system. So scroll down, it's usually at the bottom. By default, it's never enabled. If you're using it for the first time, you need to enable it. So first thing you do is enable it. As you can see here, it says Windows Subsystem for Linux. Make sure you enable it, check mark it and click on OK. Once you have done that, run your command prompt or terminal as an administrator. All you have to do is right click on it and click on run as administrator and yes. Now we'll be enabling base distribution. That is, like I said, Windows Subsystem for Linux allows you to run a Linux distribution as subsystem, right? But for that, we need to enable this base distribution. For that, you need to install the base distribution or any kind of Linux distribution that you need. So just use lx-run and install. So once you type that, this is the output which you get. It says it's the legacy Windows system for Linux distribution. So you can go ahead and install other Linux distribution which are available in Microsoft Store. But unfortunately, Kali Linux is not available, but it doesn't matter, right? We are anyway installing it using the procedure. Just click on Y here saying yes. I've already installed, so it's showing legacy Windows system for Linux distribution is already installed on my system. For you, it might take a while. After installing, the most important thing is it'll ask for you to set up a password and username. Don't skip that step, wait for a while, and make sure you set up the password and username properly. Only then the entire thing will work out. Once you've done that, we are done here. You can close the command prompt. The next thing you need to do is install Git. I already have it installed. It's very easy. Install.exe file and click on the installation process. It's very straightforward. And open Git bash. Yeah. Before that, let me go ahead and create a folder called text here. And as you can see, it's stored on my desktop. Right now it's empty. Anyway, let me go back to Git here and cd desktop test. Earlier we enabled Windows subsystem for Linux, but now we have to download the script, right? For that, search for Windows subsystem for Linux switcher. And the first link is the GitHub link. Click on that. There you go, guys. It says Windows subsystem for Linux distribution switcher. It says the purpose is to let you easily download and install Linux distribution as subsystem on your Windows operating system. So yeah, as you can see, you have different options here for the base operating systems. So yeah, copy this link here, Control C, and go back to Git clone, and paste the link which you just downloaded, paste it. It shouldn't take very long. It's done, guys. So now if you check your test folder, Windows subsystem for Linux will be downloaded properly. Let's just go back and check that. Here is our test folder. As you can see, Windows subsystem for Linux is already there. Now open your command prompt, cd, let's go for the text file. And if you search for the directories under that, you can see WSL here. Now let's go for that as well. You can just press tab, directories under that. So as you can see, the two things, the most important things is this get prebuild.py and install py. This get prebuild.py will fetch Kali Linux Docker files, and install.py will install Kali Linux for you. I already have it installed, but I'll just show you how to do it. So go back to the browser and type Dockerfile. Click on the second link. I just wanted you to copy the command easily so that you won't make mistakes. This is the one which you'll have to copy to fetch the Kali Linux Docker file. So you can just copy this part and go for command prompt. Let me maximize this for you. Here you can say, so if you remember, I said Python is must. So make sure you've installed it properly and set up the path. Python get prebuilt. Let me just prebuild.py and copy it. As you can see, it's installing. It's going to take probably like 2 minutes. So it says it's done. It says it's saved to this file in the text folder. Let's go back and check if it's happened. Here is a test folder. Under WSL, you have Python. Yeah, as you can see, you have Python folder, a zip folder of Kali Linux installed or fetched. You'll have to install it now, right? So let me now just type Python. This is the command that you want to use. That's install.py, and copy this, or just type and enter tab, root fs tab, and click enter. So as you can see, it took a while, but it did install, right? Now all you have to do is it's installed. So you can close the CMD and open your command prompt and run it as an administrator. Click yes. Let me maximize the screen. You'll have to set the root password or the default user as root. So set default. It's the command that you need to use. Set default user as root. As you can see, it's now set to root, and click bash. Done, guys. Right now we are running on Kali operating system on command line interface. If you want to make sure if you're actually running on Kali, just type cat etc and issue. It shows that Kali Linux rolling. So as you can see, we have successfully installed Kali Linux command line interface, or how to use command line interface on Windows using Windows subsystem for Linux. And I'm telling it to you again, just use it if you know how to use command line interface very properly. Otherwise, it might be a little overwhelming for beginners. Default. It's the command that you need to use. Set default user as root. As you can see, it's now set to root, and click bash. Done, guys. Right now we are running on Kali operating system on command line interface. If you want to make sure if you're actually running on Kali, just type cat etc and issue. It shows that Kali Linux rolling. So as you can see, we have successfully installed Kali Linux command line interface, or how to use command line interface on Windows using Windows subsystem for Linux. And I'm telling it to you again, just use it if you know how to use command line interface very properly. Otherwise, it might be a little